Okay, hello everybody. How was your weekend? Sorry about having to restart it, but I was having some technical issues. I've been having some problems with my internet service provider. I had to get a new router and I did all this other stuff, and it looks like the issue isn't even on my end at all, so they're probably going to have to send somebody by to fix it. But hopefully it's streaming okay. I was getting like a 99% packet loss rate, which is not good. Um, that has a lot of problems. So, what was I gonna say again? Right. So I think something I'm gonna try, and I know I've said this numerous times over the years, but I think the focus is going to be for me to not worry too much about monthly views, and just focus on trying to make one good video a week, and then if I feel inspired, doing another one or doing some news videos or live streams, or if something else kind of comes to mind. So, just because I admit I do worry sometimes, like, oh, you got to play the algorithm, you got to keep stuff going, but just try to put out consistent quality, I guess. It's not like, once again, it's not like I do this for a living or anything. This is just a hobby, as it were. Now, on that subject, so I was working on a video for tomorrow, and I was hoping to ask people what their opinions were on this. Actually, let me see here. Where was I? Oh, oops, it's the wrong one. By the way, for those of you who aren't aware, I think I'm going to bring back the Dissident Rights Survey for 2026. Do I know who Carl Sama is? Yes, wouldn't that be Carl Benjamin, aka Sargon of Akkad? I'm assuming. Okay, where is it? So I'm just trying to find where PowerPoint is not showing up in OBS. Anyway, so I was trying to. I'll just start talking about it. There we go. So I was working on a video about mental health and content creators, because part of the whole like Jeremy the quartering thing is Kino Casino was playing a video that he did back in the day where he was talking about depression and his various forms of drug addiction and stuff like that. And I've been wanting to do another kind of mental health video for a while. And mostly just kind of focus on the issues of accountability, responsibility, and just kind of social attitudes towards it because it's been something I've been thinking about a lot. So the main thing that I've been trying to kind of put together mentally, and maybe people can help me a bit with this, is how do social attitudes towards mental illness work? Because sometimes it seems like it's a complete get out of jail free card, and sometimes it actually makes the situation worse, and you're actively looked down over it. So I had a couple different thoughts on this. One of them was it's it gives you status and more and cover if you're doing something that is already socially acceptable. But if you attribute doing something socially unacceptable to mental illness, then it makes the situation worse, or people will not accept it. And a friend of mine, I was trying to explain this to, and he said that, well, that isn't that kind of just the way it is. Like, if someone's mentally ill and does if something's unacceptable normally, then it would still be unacceptable if the person was mentally ill or whatever. I guess kind of what I mean is, particularly with this happens with like women a lot, where they will do something illegal or crazy or stuff like that, and then they will say it's mental illness and they will just get away with it. But I feel like a lot of them would be able to get away with similar crazy stuff, um, even if they weren't using mental illness as a cover. So that was one thought I had. The other thought I had was that mental illness polite way of is a polite way of acknowledging that certain people have no agency and can't be held accountable for their actions. Specifically, it applies to like women and minorities and stuff like that, wherein you can just say, oh, well, they aren't accountable for their actions because you don't expect that out of them. Whereas if it's like a male and they say mental illness caused something, then it's more likely that they won't get a pass for that. Like if like a white or Asian male did what Kanye West did with regards to Hitler, they would not be forgiven for it, even if they did have bipolar. But because Kanye West did it and he's black, it's okay for him to. I don't know. Maybe somebody can. I hope people maybe understand what I'm trying to say. So, because the experiences I've had is people will talk about how like much they care about mental illness, how there's the mental health epidemic and stuff like that. But a lot of the people who signal the hardest about this, if they meet someone IRL who actually like has depression or anxiety or bipolar or something like that, they will like crush the person for not being well socialized enough. They'll say they're rude. They'll report them to HR. They'll take them aside and have a conversation with them. Even if the person says they're mentally ill, they'll be like, "Well, you can't be negative in the workplace. Where we can tolerate like people stealing stuff or I don't know, all kinds of crazy shit, but we can't tolerate you having a somewhat dour attitude." So that is not like socially acceptable. At least in Canada, though, it is socially acceptable to be a schizophrenic or a drug addict and to scream at and attack people in the streets. That is considered socially acceptable, but being depressed in a work situation is not. So I don't know. It's just I'm trying to think of how to really kind of go with this. I'll have to think about it. If anybody has any thoughts, or please put in the chat or the comments. Also, let me know just if the stream's working okay. Let me just take a quick listen to see if it's going all right. Okay, no, it sounds fine to me. So, yeah, I wanted to talk about this a bit because this is like the excuse that Jeremy uses and Phil's used this, and a lot of these online personalities have used this and said, "Oh, well, you can't criticize me for the nonsense I did. You can't. I had to flag the people. I had to be a drug addict. I had to do all this other stuff because I have a mental illness." Tends to be what I see a lot of these people saying, and I just don't think that that's really the case. Something I notice about a lot of this is when these people talk about it, and this is kind of to a certain extent how I view it, as whether the person actually has an issue or it's performative. If somebody talks about it in extremely broad, general, generic terms, I tend to doubt it. Like there's certain things that like you'll see in I don't know, like organizational literature or stuff the government puts out, like, oh, it's hard to get up in the morning, or I just feel like I can't go on, or stuff like that. But they won't really give any kind of specific insights or describe their behavior or internal thought process. And to me, it kind of makes the whole thing seem, I don't know, insincere, or just very vague, or just trying to appeal to socially programmed stuff. Because I don't know, like when I talk about oops, I was reading chat, so I lost my train of thought there. Yeah, they just like they don't really say anything specific about it. They just say I'm depressed, so I had to do it. Like there's no kind of explanation of the internal thought process. Like when I've done videos in the past, I've talked about how one of the things that makes being in a major depressive state so difficult is it limits your ability to see the bigger picture, or to really abstract beyond yourself. It kind of impacts, I don't know if theory of mind is correct or whatever, but it basically just narrows your mental perspective from being like the world or your community or your life to just that moment, to just that particular state, and you lose the ability to kind of put anything in perspective. You're just kind of stuck in a place where you can't really see the future. Even a couple days from now, you're just stuck in a moment wherein you just it the particular emotions you're feeling are just so prevalent, and kind of all consuming and surrounding, that part of it is you're not just cold, but you're kind of immersed in like a cold void, and you can't really see any light in order to get out. I don't know if I'm making any sense, but I'm just saying, like, for instance, something like that, just saying I'm depressed, that's why I had to do this. I just I don't like that. And I feel like Jer and kind of a lot of these online people abuse it. So and they just kind of use it as an excuse. I don't know. I think it's become very much like a status signally thing in a lot of ways, like with racism or gender identity or whatever, where you can go, oh, I support mentally ill people. I support um, people with these issues. Look at me. I'm very tolerant and progressive and stuff like that, and I get my dopamine hit by feeling like I'm a good person. So I don't know. I kind of want to do a video just talking about that. So I'm working on that, and hopefully that'll be out tomorrow or Sunday. But one of the things I just really don't like about it, and maybe it's kind of weird coming from me because I am obviously bipolar, but I hate it when people use it as a get out of jail free card, and they don't really like apologize or explain or something like that. They just kind of go, "Oh, well, I'm mentally ill, so you can't criticize me." Like it doesn't work that way. Like, if Jeremy at the end of this is going to go, oh, well, I flagged all those channels and ruined all those people's lives because I was depressed and I couldn't take the fact that they were making fun of me. I mean, you're an adult. And don't get me wrong, I get that it can be very hard, but you're in your mid 40s. You should have developed coping mechanisms by now. Okay, well, maybe that's he did, but they aren't good ones. You should have developed ways of living your life without constantly engaging in self-destructive behaviors. Well, I guess he does that too. But I just mean, if you know that you're someone who has no impulse control, who gets really angry easily and does reckless things when they're drunk, then you should just it's like what you say during your act of contrition. You avoid near occasions to sin. If you know that you're going to get depressed and you're going to freak out and you're going to go do something stupid, it's your job to remove yourself from that area, that situation. Because if you're actively, even if you don't have full control of your senses at the time, the fact that you're actively setting yourself up for failure, and you know that's the issue, and you've had the same issue for decades, and you've been completely unwilling to do anything to deal with it, is it's your fault at that point. And it's not really like there's a linear, and this is kind of one of the things that can get difficult sometimes with mental illness, is it's not as simple as there's like good Arjun and there's bad Arjun, or there's manic Arjun, there's non-manic Arjun. A lot of the time it takes things that exist and dramatically amplifies them and makes them just much more prevalent than general. Like, people will have intrusive thoughts all the time. I don't know, just random disturbing I'm not going to give some examples, but you might just have a random disturbing thought of like a sexual nature, or like of a disease, or I don't know, you see, I don't know, something gross and like, oh, I wonder what it tastes like or something. And you just have these random intrusive thoughts. But it's, in the case of some of these mental illnesses, it raises that beyond just something your brain suppresses to the point where it becomes obsessive, or you're fixed on it or something like that. So, like, back before I was properly medicated, if I was manic, I would get into just really aggressive yelling matches at people and just try to emotionally damage them and stuff like that. And I do get that comes from a frustration I have when dealing with people I think are like dumb or behaving in a irresponsible fashion, or stuff like that. So it does come from like a place, but it's kind of an unregulated variation of it, taken to an immense degree, and kind of and not just turned up to 11, but with a bunch of other things added on to it. So it's not just that, like, oh, you're, I don't know, narcissistic or whatever, and prone to lashing out at people only when you're in a depressive mood or something. It's yeah, I don't know. And so when people like DSP or Boogie or whoever blame their mental illness for the issues that they have, I don't know. I just don't feel that much sympathy for it, because they should have some self-awareness by this time in their life. I think that is the defining characteristic of a lolcow, is having no self-awareness, um, of having like no ability to kind of reflect, no real theory of mind, like being able to relate to other people in the external world. It's very specific. Um, by the way, before we continue, just want to ask, how was everybody's weekend? Um, my weekend was okay. I got distracted playing Stellaris, so I didn't get as much done as I wanted to. I did, however, manage to get my act together and wash my kitchen and bathroom, so that was nice. Um, and just vacuum my floor. What was I saying? Okay, so blue team 696. Sorry, blue team 796. Whoa. Says same thing with autistic people. Most liberals I meet pretend to care about us, but treat autistic people poorly IRL. Yeah, well, it's because your behavior doesn't conform to what they want, or what they expect. Um, or what they expect. And a lot of these people are just very, they're very, I don't know if overly socialized is the right way, but they aren't really used to dealing with a broad array of situations. They're used to dealing with people who have the exact same opinions as them, who live the same lifestyle as them, who have the same pathologies as them, and they have difficulty dealing with anything that kind of deviates from it. I found this back in university, where people would sometimes have a breakdown whenever I would disagree with them, just because they haven't encountered that kind of situation. And I find this very much at like work, at the various places I've worked, where people will just make like left wing, sometimes very dramatic ones, like we need to, like, Americans are evil, or I hate people who live in rural areas, although that came from somebody who lived in a rural area, and complaining about the NRA, or complaining about Christians, or stuff like that. And if anybody ever actually disagreed with them, they would probably have some sort of meltdown, because they just don't exist in that context. So, with regards to the what you're saying, meeting someone who's autistic is outside of what their normal experience is, and they just don't really know how to deal with it. It's very much, Mark Stein said something that I think is very accurate. Multiculturalism isn't knowing about other cultures; it's about feeling good about it. Um, Supporting mental illness and supporting people with autism isn't about actually treating those people with respect. It's about feeling good about the fact that you say you care about it. So that is the case. I don't know. I have a lot of autistic friends, and I say that as, like, unironically. I don't know if you guys have ever seen Nice Meme Fryer. That guy is brutally autistic. Wonderful human being, though. One of the nicest guys I've ever met, but brutally autistic. So there's that. Um, but yeah, same thing with depression. Someone's depressed sometimes. Nordic Warrior says, God bless. Jesus Christ is Lord and Savior. Repent and trust in Him, and you shall be saved. I 100% agree. As I've said many times, for me, one of the turning points of when I started to go to therapy and stuff like that was when I became a Christian, and I started to kind of realize that it wasn't all about me. That I didn't necessarily have the right to just hate everybody I came across, or felt that the world owed me things or that they owed me something, and that I had to just take more time to consider the feelings of others and consider the good of others and stuff like that. And that there is kind of a response, I guess, an emotional and social responsibility beyond just yourself and how you happen to be feeling in that particular moment. Um, so like for instance, I had occasionally yelled at my, well, I generally have a good experience with my parents, but I'd gotten mad at them. I'd said nasty things to them and stuff like that. And when I became a Christian, I mean, the Bible says honor thy father and mother, and I just kind of started to really look at things from their perspective and go, I mean, your parents did all that stuff for you. I mean, they created you in a physical sense, but they sacrificed a lot of time and money and the better part of their lives to ensure that you would try to make it so that you would be successful as much as possible, and that you owe them a basic level of respect. Now, I say this. That's not always the case. I have great parents. I love my parents dearly. Some people have parents who are degenerates or abusive, and I get that. But I do think I think the other thing that being Christian taught me, and I do give attribution even if it sounds kind of weird, is so there's this boomer con Zionist, Dennis Prager, but he said something that I thought was very, very intelligent. That ingratitude is where most suffering comes from, and that being grateful is the key to happiness. And I didn't really get that until I became a Christian and I started thinking about how grateful I am to Christ. And then I kind of applied that to the rest of my life, like thinking about how grateful I am for all the things my parents do, for nice things other people do, for things like that. And you really start to kind of go outside of yourself more, and try to kind of see the bigger picture. And I guess as I was saying earlier, it gets rid of the to me, I think it's something that prevents you from to link everything back together, kind of being like a lol cow and being one of these people. And I've done videos on it in the past, but something that you'll see with a lot of these people who we talk about online is they have no gratitude. A lot of them have been given things that you or I can only dream of. They've had opportunities, they've had success, they've had fame, they've had relationships, and they just throw it all away because they're ungrateful, greedy people who can't be satisfied, and can't just express gratitude and go, you know what? I have problems, but I'm in my 20s. I'm making millions of dollars a year on the internet. Life is pretty good. Um, I should be cognizant that there are a lot of people who have it way worse off than me, and just try to feel grateful for it. And it's why I feel people like Jeremy or DSP or any of these people are so tragic. Um, I've talked a lot about Dennis Prager over the years. He's a smart guy. I mean, there's a lot of bad things he says, but there's also a lot of true things that he says. So, what was I gonna say? But yeah, like I mean, if oh, thanks, Blue Team. I appreciate that, man. That's very kind of you. But like, let's look at like Jeremy, for instance, the quarter pounder. The man has a lot to be grateful of for. He got married to a woman who honestly is out of his league. She's in her 40s now, but she's still in good shape. She definitely looks better than Jer. I don't know if she's a bad person or not. There's all like the bull stuff and things like that, but I don't know. He has a wife. He stumbled into an exceedingly successful career where he just has to read news articles, and he got a lot of clout, and a lot of people appreciated him, and had a lot of fans and praise, and made a whole bunch of money and all that kind of stuff. And he just couldn't be grateful for it. Um, I, like, if you or I made like a couple $1 million and you were at least somewhat responsible, um, someone who's like a little bit responsible, you could set yourself up for life. You can pay off your mortgage. You can invest money. Like in Canada, you can max out your RSP and TFSA, and you can kind of set yourself up to avoid a lot of the, I don't know, just the bad things that can come out of it. But people who can't be grateful, who are coomers, who are obsessed with that dopamine hit, they can't be grateful for it. And because he couldn't, like, and Phil does this with WWE champions and stuff, is that they're empty people who try to fill the hole in their soul with material possessions, with um, cooming, with drugs, with alcohol and stuff like that. And once again, I'm a Christian. I'm not like a Buddhist. There's a lot of beautiful, wonderful things in the world, um, and they exist for our enjoyment. But there's a difference between enjoying something and using it as a way to try to deal with the emptiness within you, and to try to fill it. And that's just the thing. And that's, once again, that's why I find these people so interesting, is because generally speaking, the downfall is almost entirely self-inflicted. I actually find Chris Chan less interesting as a lol cow. I don't really, because so Luther Morgan, who's been doing a bunch of investigations, I might reach out to him and see if I could like get him to come on, or I could go on his channel or something, just because he seems extremely similar to me to an almost uncanny degree. He didn't include Chris Chan in his book about lol cows because he just felt bad for him, um, and said that he was just mentally ill. And it's not funny. It's not really a teachable moment. It's just kind of a sad guy with severe mental illness. Uh, Mirbella says, yes, he is. He helped me at a bad moment when my 16-year-old cat died. Yeah, man, I thank you for that. I appreciate it. I'll say this. Whenever I'm out and I see like missing cat pictures, my heart just kind of breaks a bit. Just because you know that cat's probably dead or run away or something and they won't get the cat back. And just the desperate cry for help because they want their pet back. I don't know. It just. I really feel for them. Um, Pets obviously aren't people, they don't have the same moral worth as humans. But I think there is. I forget if it was Saint Jerome or whoever it was, but I do think, in like a Christian sense, when it comes to animals, the way that they love us is kind of a model for how we should love Christ. Like dogs just worship you. Their entire world revolves around you. They would do anything for you. And I think there is something that is just pure about that, and inspiring and touching about that. Rain might bite me, but sometimes she'll just crawl up into my lap. She'll just stare at me with those big eyes of complete trust and love, and just fall asleep on me. And it's just a very touching experience. And so people get very attached to their animals. The the whole fur baby thing is complete cringe, and it's bad, but I do get why people are so attached to their animals, and I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with it. If you're saying that your pet is your child, that is definitely screwed up, and that's not the case. Raise my cat, she's my pet. I do care about her a lot, but she's not a person. So, uh, let's see here. What was I gonna say? Wow, we've really been kind of we're having a good conversation about stuff. I just kind of wanted to come on and talk to you guys. Get some stuff off my chest. My car was named Mao Zedong, by the way. Oh, your I think you meant your cat was named Mao Zedong. Like not even Meow Zedong? Come on, man, you gotta have that pun. But what was I gonna say? I don't know. That is the like. If there's one thing I do find sympathetic about Islam, it's how much they love cats. Um, I want to go to Istanbul to see the cats of Istanbul. You know what? Let's after all that heavy shit, let's take a little field trip and let's watch some cute animals. So in Istanbul, basically, there's just like hundreds of thousands of cats. They aren't really feral. They're more just kind of like community pets. Um, because people will like feed them and stuff like that. So there's just cats all over the place. People who go there say they just go up to them, you and stuff like that. Um, and they'll jump in your stuff like that. That being said, oh wow, that looks like a purebred Turkish van. I mean, I guess that's the place in the world where they would be. To be fair, like once again, animals aren't people, so I get that to control the population, you sometimes have to do a mass cull. Just so long as it's done humanely, I don't think it's really a an issue. to be honest. Once again, animals aren't people. So, um, Norik434 says, "Did you see the latest story about the Canadian military? They're desperate for recruits, so they're importing francophone Africans. They hate each other so much it's killing morale." I might have to maybe I'll do a video about the Canadian Army. I admit I just haven't wanted to cover it because it's too depressing. So the Canadian Army is like it's almost as paused as it's almost as paused as the British Army. The British Army has commissars though, so I don't think the Canadian Army has commissar, and I'm not even joking about the commissars thing. We can look that up in a minute. But the commissars, but the Canadian Army is just completely paused. A problem I find is with the Canadian Army is I've known, I think, like 3 or 4 people at least who have tried to join the Canadian Army, and it's almost impossible to do so. Like, I'll see people who have spent like years trying to get in, and the process is so um, the process is so difficult and so time consuming and full of so much bullshit and nonsense that all the people I know who have wanted to join the army have just given up because it's just too difficult to get into it. And the people I know who have tried to join aren't like weirdos; they're like normal people, and they wanted to serve their country and they just can't because the whole thing is such a clusterfuck. And it's the same in Britain, it's the same in the United States for a lot of people, wherein they will just turn away people. I don't know if it's because they're like white males and they have diversity quotas, or they think they might be conservative and that's the reason that they don't want them to serve in their military or something like that. But yeah, and then we have this issue where they're having to import people. What was the one? So, Rain is currently trying to stand on my keyboard. So, like, Canada is trying to recruit F-35 pilots because Canada is buying or has bought F-35s. So like we can't train Canadians to do it. We can't even train immigrants to Canada to do it, and that's just how insane this fucking country is. Like, okay, it's like they will discriminate against people who aren't citizens but are like resident immigrants in favor of people who are even newer from the third world. So, and this is a okay, sorry, Linux Wizard says this. I got like a 90 plus ASVAB score. I'm not exactly sure what that is. I'm not sure if maybe that's an accuracy thing or some sort of standardized test. Linux, you can post that. Where I remember the recruiter said it was the highest score he'd ever seen. minimal health concerns other than glasses, and they didn't want me for whatever reason. Um, yeah, they're probably scraping. Yeah. Oh, it's an entrance exam for the U.S. military. Okay, so that's in the United States and not in Canada. I'm not too familiar with it, the actual recruitment process, but like we'll have this case where I know people like who are smart enough and are technically inclined enough who probably could be trained to fly an F-35, but they just won't do that. They like insist that we have to import people to do this. Um, New permanent residency, including military roles. Also, I don't know. Maybe I'm like just retarded or something, but why do you want non citizens flying the most expensive weapons in your arsenal? How much is an F 35? Yeah, like $100 million. So we want non citizens flying after the $100 million F 35s. Because that's just, I don't know how Canada works. But what's this? Success rate dropped to 77%, and the requirements are not very high. The military beat its recruitment target by enrollment of permanent 1,400 permanent residents because they won't accept recruitment from citizens. I mean, it's fucking insane. I just I don't know. The proportion of candidates requiring multiple attempts to graduate from basic training jumped to 15%, the report said. Well, but blue team, it's not even like you're the you're the a second or third generation Chinese immigrant whose family came here in like the 90s. It's not even like that what we're talking about. That would be like one thing. This is like literally people who they went to China, they found some like shady guy who said he could fly an F-35, and they're getting that guy to come and pilot it. I don't think it's actually that. I think they're trying to get them from allied countries. But still, you get the point. Um, what the fuck? This sums the whole thing up. Look at this. This is the fucking recruits that they have in the army. We got brown woman. We got some, I don't know, white girl. This guy is doesn't look particularly physically capable. We got some weird Asian guy. I don't know. Some recruits not yet acclimatized to Canadian society. These initial platoons were made up of candidates with as little as 3 months residency in Canada, leading to a significant culture shock as candidates literally fucking barbarian mercenaries. Literally. Like, This is like some late Rome stuff. I mean, fortunately, the Canadian Army is incompetent and poorly equipped, so I don't know. Maybe the degradation of the military is probably a good thing, considering at this point it would probably be used against people like me. But it is the thing. Okay. Okay, here we go. So the British military has commissars. And I'm slightly joking, but not really. So the every military unit in the UK has a DEI officer. Um, every unit in the British Army has a trained D&I officer who ensures that their unit has an inclusive culture. It assists the commanding officer in supporting those who are treated unacceptably. They lead on informal resolution and signpost the many organizations that are there to support our services, including the Speak Out Confidential Pipeline and the Army Mediation Service. So, literal commissar. They assign like a like paused political officer. What are the odds that this dude or whoever they have doing this role can veto like the commands of the officer in the unit, or can and tell them to check their tone, or I don't know. It's just fucking crazy. External partnerships. Sign up at the Race to Work Charter. Women in Defense. You know what? Let's just take another field trip. Let me see if we can find the recruitment one. Okay, I actually like this this recruitment ad, if memory serves. I don't know. That's like what a serious country has for military recruitment. Uh, let's see. Let's watch a couple more of these.
Отче наш, иже еси на небесех, да светится имя
Fucking
Твое,
based.
да приидет царствие Твое, да будет воля Твоя, как на небеси и на земле. Хлеб наш насущный дашь к нам днесь.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد وسلم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم
Спаси, Господи, люди Твои, и благослови достояние Твое, победы православных христиан на сопротивные отдали.
Okay, so that was a actually that's interesting because that was a like a was that a non-gay multicultural ad? Yeah, okay, so that was like a non-gay diversity ad. To be fair though, like I mean, Russia does have those I don't know, those minorities are part of Russia. But still, I mean it looked like a real fucking recruitment ad.
Войны заканчиваются. Чтобы мир был прочным, нужны люди с крепким характером, готовые не только постоять за родину, но и проползти, и прыгнуть, и пробежать. А главное, за нее побеждать. Есть такая работа – быть защитником. И когда ты становишься профессионалом, это становится делом твоей жизни, военным делом.
I figured it was Russians as well as satellite states. No, like Russia has a Buddhist and Muslim population. Kind of the like the shock troops are like Chechens. Okay, I'm gonna show you guys some fucking cringe. Okay. I'm gonna like this is just for you guys. This is the fucking like cringiest shit that you're ever gonna see.
For nearly half a century, Canadians working for the Armed Forces, RCMP, and Federal Public Service were targeted and dismissed based on a suspicion of their sexuality. Visit Love in a Dangerous Time, Canada's LGBT.
Love in a Dangerous Time, Canada's LGBT BLTBBQ purge. I've been to the Canadian Museum for Human Rights is in Winnipeg. It is as gay as it sounds. Let's see here. So this is like about how they wouldn't let gays in the military. So okay, is this the full one, I think?
Federal Public Service were targeted based on a suspicion of their sexuality. It was one of the longest and largest scale violations of human rights in any workforce, and it destroyed over 9,000 careers and futures. And then people pushed back. Visit Love in a Dangerous Time, Canada's LGBT purge.
This plays before like every movie. What are we at now? 2SLGBTQI plus. Okay. Okay, gay hockey. Okay, here we go. It's the gay hockey movie that they're trying to force on us. I think that might be the one, but yeah. Let's see. Okay. Let's take a look at some military videos from the Canadian Army. I'm gonna regret looking at this, aren't I? Okay, if you wanna, we'll see how long of this we can take. Okay, it doesn't show that much. Okay, now called the LGBT purge. This official polity destroyed thousands of careers, did untold psychological damage, and ruined lives. Todd Ross thought his life was over at age 21 after he was threatened, interrogated, and discharged from the Navy. Now he's a lifelong activist in the fight for 2SLGBTQI plus rights. Michelle Douglas excelled in her military career before expulsion from the military for being not advantageously employable due to homosexuality. Although devastating both personally and professionally, it propelled her forward. Okay, you know what? Let's look at this shit. Let me know if you can see this. So this is the Canadian Museum for Human Rights, which is every bit as gay as it sounds. Okay, so let's see here. You know what? Maybe this will be easier. Canadian. Okay, but do people kind of see what I mean when I did, like, because I did that video last week, Karen's Eternal War. This is what I have to deal with on a daily basis. These people will never stop. I have to just constantly fucking deal with these people telling me I'm shit every single day. Okay, so let's see here. So, okay, so this is what it looks like. It's honestly one of the ugliest buildings I've ever seen. I can see this in a lot of cases. So let's take a look at this. So this is the inside. I don't actually know what all those people do. Israel Tower of Hope. There's the Red River. Okay, so we have a thing about how, like, what is this? I was gonna do like an edgy video, because I went to this once because my parents really wanted to go for some reason, but look at that. I mean, like, that almost loops around and becomes like cool dystopian, doesn't it? Doesn't this look like something from, like, Overdrawn at the Memory Bank or some, like, cheesy 70s, like, low-budget sci-fi movie? I don't think that that's what they intended, but it's what they got. Okay. Let's see if they show any of the actual exhibits. Okay, we got... I don't even remember what that is. Highest rates of child marriage. Well, I mean, that's actually a human rights thing. Let's look at some more of this. Like, the thing I hate so much about these, almost more than anything else, is look at how much wasted space there is here. Okay, let's just take... Okay, we'll get back to this gay shit in a second. Let's just take a side trip. Okay, this is what a real museum looks like. This is probably the best museum I've ever been to. And I know that's saying a lot.
Museum.
Okay, this kind of is not the best video quality.
When I first came here in the 1980s, it was like this, the whole museum.
Okay, let me see if I can find a better picture. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so like that's what it looks like. They have literally uniforms from every era, from like every conflict, pretty much like that Belgium has ever been involved with. Okay, let me see if I can find it better. Okay. There we go. That's got a pretty good like show. They have the uniforms of like multiple czars. I think of like 5 or 6 different czars. Let me see. Yeah, this is the air room. It's pretty cool, the stuff they got there. I think that's a saber. The really cool thing is they have a, what's an MI-18? I think it was really cool to see that in person. That helicopter is way bigger than how you think. Like it's huge. Let me see. I'm just seeing if there's like a one. Okay, here we go. Yeah, there we go. We got the some of the horse armor they have there. Some of the wheelock pistols. Maybe they'll show the trick guns. Yeah, there we go. I posted that actually. That's the black armor with the pistols.
Look at these weapons, guys. 17th century. Do you guys watch Vikings? Well.
Yeah, it was cool. With some. Okay, let's see. The cool thing about it was there was really no politics. It just basically just historically did stuff. So they had like, yes, they have like all these World War I era guns. I geeked out really hard at this place. There might have been some squealing. To be honest. Let's see. Look at all those helmets they have.
1917.
Yeah.
Look at this monster.
Yep, they have World War I tags. The World War II collection was pretty cool too. I don't know,
Guys,
they
look
just
at
had
this.
so much stuff.
This is the wreckage of a V-1 rocket that struck Brussels in the Second World War. It was cut down by the British. This was
Yeah. Anyways. Sorry, just like the stuff they have about like the Belgian colonial era, it just gives historical information, like it doesn't have any like moralizing or any stuff like that. I gotta respect that they're just like, look, we have the biggest collection of shit in the world. We're just gonna put all this shit up there, and you're just gonna have to deal with it. First World War. Yeah, pretty much every model of gun that was used, even like weird experimental stuff, like what's that, like 8 different types of machine gun, the tanks. They didn't have too many tanks. That's the one complaint I have, but see, I think they had like a full Bofors, I think 20 or 40 millimeter. Yeah, this is the exhibit. So when the Russian Revolution happened, a bunch of the whites, when they fled to the West, they brought a lot of their military treasures with them and donated them. So there's uniforms there of multiple czars. Yeah, those are the uniforms of different czars. See, I'm trying to see if there's the Cossack. Yeah, they had SS uniforms. They had like uniforms from the Winter War. They had all kinds of just crazy stuff there. They just kind of threw it all out there. This was the Holocaust exhibit. The Holocaust exhibit was not very long. Got the Pacific War. That was a cool diorama they have there with the German motorcycle. Okay, it's some Indian woman. But anyways, back to the Canadian Museum of Human Rights. But you get what I mean by empty space? Like, look at all this fucking empty space. That's just... there could be things here. This video is just entirely them just fucking walking around.
For those who found when they had children.
I don't remember what these are. Okay, reach across the country.
Ideas and dreams.
Let me see. Okay, let's look at this cringe.
Welcome today to the Canadian Museum for Human Rights, right here in Winnipeg, Manitoba. My name is Carly, and behind the camera we have Scott. Hi, Scott.
Hey, The Manitoba accent is like the stereotypical Canadian
Like many of
accent.
you across Canada and the world today, I'm usually working from home these days, but I got special permission to be here today to share with you a little bit about what we do at the museum. At the museum, we talk about human rights. We talk about the fact that we all have different perspectives and ideas on what that means. But we want to come together and share one another's stories to learn about those different perspectives and ideas, in the hopes that we are going to gain an understanding and respect for one another's ideas. And through dialogue, we can move forward into a better life together. Let me show you one very important statement we have here in the museum. Along the back wall,
Okay.
and universal we keep that in a gallery. One that's very popular for many people. It makes a very important connection to nature. Every time I come in here, I feel it's welcome, warm, and inviting. It's called Indigenous Perspectives. I'd like us to take a look out through the window here. You can see past this beautiful ceremonial terrace into St. Boniface and the surrounding area. And I'd like to recognize now that this place called the Forks, these are ancestral lands for Indigenous people since time immemorial. It's actually been a meeting place and a gathering place for Indigenous peoples. And when there were archaeological excavations before the museum was built, this has been an important place for thing that was found was this monument 800 years. And along this in Curiel,
Sorry, I'm just skipping ahead a bit to get to some
to
cringe. This
encourage
part's just
people at
boring.
the gallery is the spirit panels. And I like to encourage people of all ages to take a spirit panel walk with me. This actually is an initiative in partnership with the National Association of Friendship Centers. In sharing circles, an elder, an Indigenous artist, and Indigenous youth and communities across Canada came together to have conversations about their visions and ideas and concepts of human rights. And each province and territory is represented here. So if you want to come with me, why don't we have a little geography lesson together? Do you know your Canadian geography from east to west? Here, take a look at the writing, might give you a hint. And finally, Nunavut. And the infinity symbol that, as his name is, give this luminous glow. As we spectacular view, which is actually called the Hall of Hope. This was a vision of the architect. His name is Antoine Predock. And he meant it to be a guiding light for us, a journey of discovery from darkness to light. As we move through the museum, we're going to uncover many different stories of different human rights journeys. And this guides us along the way. You can see that the ramps are covered with a stone called alabaster. And inside, in behind, there are LED lights and reflective mirrors that give this luminous glow. For me, it evokes a sense of comfort and hope. And as a matter of fact, it can evoke those possibilities of healing along the journeys that we sometimes take. Alabaster was an important stone in ancient times. It was used to create containers called alabastrons that held healing ointments. It's a great way also to get your exercise. There's almost 800 meters from the bottom to the 7th floor. And if you like, from there you can actually take about 108 steps to visit the Israel Asper Tower of Hope, which gives a great panoramic view of our city. That said, if that doesn't interest you, that long walk, you can always take the elevators. I'd like to bring you now into the largest gallery at the museum, and it's called Canadian Journeys. As we move towards this gallery, you're going to be met with almost 70 stories. Different Canadians from across all of Canada share their human rights journeys.
She kind of reminds me, does anyone, you know the movie Troll 2? Like the main villain in that, the Goblin Queen? She kind of reminds me of the Goblin Queen.
Depending on who you are or were, where or when you lived, your human rights journey may be very different from your neighbors. Some of these stories talk about victories, and some talk about struggles. We encourage visitors to explore at their own pace and find connections, meaningful connections where they can really learn about those stories that may affect them in ways they have never even thought of.
Yeah, let's see. Yeah, doesn't she look a bit like her? Deborah Reed? Little bit?
As we move forward into the gallery, on the back wall, we have a digital screen, 6 films. But we also have still images, and each one of them tells a real human story. You can explore them in our Insight stations. Behind us, there's also a theater with 2 films, and all around the perimeter, we have 18 alcoves that mark turning points in human rights journeys and perspectives about. Actually, my daughter just did a project on this. Yes, she did it, not me, even though I work here and brought her here to help research. Viola Desmond's story is one of courage and determination, even self-sacrifice, in order to face social injustice, racial inequality. And we as Canadians are all the better for it. Viola Desmond, she was an intelligent, successful, ambitious Black woman in the 1940s in Nova Scotia. She owned her own beauty salon and ran a beauty school for Black women who didn't have any other means to get professional education because of the institutionalized racism that existed at that time. So one day, this is what happened. Viola Desmond, she was on a business trip between Halifax and Sydney, Nova Scotia, and her car broke down in a little town called New Glasgow. So she took her car to the garage, and what are you going to do when you have a few hours to kill in a small town you're not very familiar with?
Okay, I'm going to
decided
take
to go
my
to the
headset
theater.
off. This is so
So she went in and she bought a ticket
This is the
for
big,
a seat, and she went and sat on the ground floor close to the screen. As a matter of fact, her sister Wanda told us that she had forgotten her glasses in the car. She needed to see up close.
You guys don't know how many times I listened to this story in grade school.
But then what happened was the theater management came and told her that the ticket she had bought was actually for the balcony. Well, Viola went back to the ticket office and asked to buy a ticket for the ground floor. And that's when she had to confront that racism that existed, that hidden segregation that actually was going on in Canada against Black people. She was told that they weren't allowed to sell tickets to people like her. And so that's when she knew that she had a choice to make. I don't think that when Viola Desmond woke up that morning, she thought that she was going to be facing a life-changing decision. I don't think any of us really wake up thinking that today I'm going to change the world. But Viola Desmond, she actually did. She decided at that point she was going to face head-on that inequality, that injustice. And so she actually went and sat back down in her seat. And it was at that point that the management actually came in with a police officer. They took Viola Desmond out of the theater. She was arrested and thrown in prison. And even when she faced the courts, they would not admit that there was any racial motivation behind this. Do you know what she was charged with? No, it wasn't even causing a public commotion. Tax evasion. That was the difference in price between the ground floor.
Okay, so anyways, this is on our $10 bill in Canada. This is our big story. Like, this is how desperate Canada is to uncover something to feel guilty about. It's not even like the KKK killing someone. It's not even lynching. It's this bullshit. Is what we have to deal with on a daily basis. Okay, let's take a look at the Canadian military recruitment ads. Yep, she's on our $10 bill. They took her off. I forget what it was previously. Trying to remember who's on our other money. I generally don't pay super close attention. Okay, yeah, Wilfrid Laurier is still on the 5, which makes sense. Who's on the 20? Oh, I think it's Vimy Ridge. Yeah, it's Vimy Ridge now. 50 is William Lyon Mackenzie King. Surprised they haven't taken Borden off the $100 yet. But I'm sure they will at some point. Where was I? Okay. Okay.
You've always wanted to be part of something bigger than yourself. You live for experience. And lead by example. You want the most out of life. And realize what you're looking for is already in you. This is for you. The Canadian Armed Forces.
Okay. Let's see. What else do we have?
Canada, it's time for more us. Because we're more than just a place on a map. We're an attitude, one with more empathy than ego, more unity than division, more grit, go, and we got this. The more we choose to stand up as our most flag-flying, maple leaf buying, local adventuring selves, the more we are the true north, unbreakable, strong, and free.
Okay, let's see.
Ever dreamed of being paid to dive? Think you can handle the heat of cooking? For hundreds of brave troops? Could you deploy a sophisticated communication network in some of the remotest corners of the planet? Do you see yourself delivering essential healthcare in a state-of-the-art portable clinic? Would you like to pull off intense workouts and a paid education? Or execute a precision landing just in time to save a life? Perhaps you prefer to master cutting-edge electronic systems in the middle of the ocean.
This is one of the worst things I've ever seen. This voiceover is fucking terrible.
Dare to be extraordinary with the Canadian Armed Forces. Apply for one of over 100 full and part-time careers.
Okay, let's see. Okay, let's.
You've likely seen and heard a lot of different things about basic training. The instructors are not here to break you. Their goal is to build you up, mentor you, help you find your inner strength, and teach you to succeed in both the military and everyday life.
Basic Military Qualification, or BMQ, is a 9-week demanding journey designed for you to achieve more than you thought possible. It will transition you from a civilian to a proud member of the Canadian Armed Forces.
Everyone who joins the Canadian Armed Forces must complete BMQ at the Leadership and Recruit School in Saint-Jean-sur-Richelieu, Quebec. During the first week of your training, you'll be outfitted with all your military kit, uniform, boots, helmet, gloves, rucksack, and you'll settle into your quarters. You'll join other recruits in a self-contained mega complex, complete with dormitory, gym, cafeteria, and school facility. Here, you'll experience the CAF's 4 training pillars: professional conduct and culture, resilience, physical fitness, and military skills.
It isn't until week 6 that you'll do your mandatory physical test. You'll have lots of opportunity to build up capacity to meet the objectives of the test. Recruits must be successful to continue their BMQ. So it's a good idea to start training now before you arrive. In addition, visitations are not permitted during the initial 4 weeks of BMQ training.
You'll be assigned to a section, and during week 2, you'll learn military dress, drill, and the words of military instruction. Initially, your training...
Learning and eating with your fellow...
Strip, clean, and assemble the...
Okay, that doesn't actually look that bad as far as some of this stuff goes. Let's see here. Just trying to see what else we have. Anyways, that's just some stuff that we what is this? The Canadian Imperial Force. The fuck? The Canadian Empire? That looks like Phalanges colors. What the fuck? Okay, well, I'm summoned to him at any rate. Some fucking fascist. Okay, that was not what I was expecting, but that was something. Okay, what else do we want to look at? Oh, we got completely distracted on the Canadian military thing. Let's find some like okay, let's do some cringe. Okay, so this is what we have to do everywhere in Canada.
We acknowledge we are gathered on Treaty 1 territory and that Manitoba is located on the treaty territories and ancestral lands of the Anishinaabe, Inuak, Dakota Oete, Dene Sulene, and Nihen Owuk. We acknowledge part of Manitoba is located on the homeland of the Red River Métis. We acknowledge northern Manitoba includes lands that were and are the ancestral lands of the Inuit. We remain committed to working in partnership with the Indigenous peoples in the spirit of truth, reconciliation, and collaboration in accordance with their constitutional rights and human rights.
But before any public event in Canada, you have to read that out. You also have that on Air Canada. Just trying to see if I can find the land acknowledgements that they make you you do. Where are we?
In the spirit of reconciliation, we acknowledge tonight's game will take place on the original territories of the peoples of the Treaty 7 region in southern Alberta, which includes the Blackfoot First Nation tribes of Siksika, the Piikani, the Gena, the Stoney Nakoda First Nation tribes of Chiniki, Bearspaw, and Goodstoney, and the Tsuut'ina First Nation. This territory is also home to the Métis Nation of Alberta, Region 3. As an organization, Calgary Sports and Entertainment is proud to continue our commitment to learn from and partner with.
Let's see, where are some other... What is this? Okay, this is from Ontario.
The land upon which we work, live, and sustain ourselves is the ancestral and treaty lands of the Michizagig Anishinaabe, also known today as the Mississaugas of the Credit, the rightful caretakers and title holders of this land. We also recognize the rich pre-contact history and relationships which include the Anishinaabe and the Ongwe Hongwe.
Since European contact, this land continues to be home to Indigenous and non-Indigenous peoples. As responsible community members, we value the diversity, dignity, and worth of all people.
Colonialism displaced and dispossessed Indigenous peoples of their ancestral land
and continues to deny their basic human rights, dignities, and freedoms.
We are committed to learning true history to reconcile, make reparations, and fulfill our treaty obligations to the original peoples and our collective responsibilities to the lands, water, animals, and each other for future generations.
So that's like how it is, and basically that's about as Canadian as it gets. The like Indians, the Dot Indians acknowledging the Feather Indians stuff. Like we do them before like staff meetings and stuff. They do them before masses. So it's yeah. Okay, let me see. Oh, here we go. Okay, let's take a look. So this is a thing in Canada we have, Orange Shirt Day. Let's take a look at Orange Shirt Day.
In July of 1973, I turned 6. My grandmother brought me to town to Williams Lake to buy something new to wear. What I chose was a shiny orange shirt for my first day of school at the mission. We are here on the grounds of the mission, the former site of the St. Joseph Indian Residential School, where 3 generations of my family attended. When I got to the mission, my new shirt was taken away, and no matter how much I cried or wanted it back or protested, it didn't matter. I never did get my shirt back, and I don't have a memory of ever wearing it again.
Orange Shirt Day began with Phyllis's story in Williams Lake and has now spread across BC and Canada. The orange shirt represents
This is a statutory holiday, by the way.
the emotional, the mental, and the physical trauma that Indigenous communities endured during the residential school era and continues to endure even today. Following the confirmation of more than 1,300 unmarked graves near the former residential school sites across Western Canada, including more than 200 here in Kamloops, this story is more important than ever.
Every child matters. When I was in residential school, I felt that I didn't matter and that no one cared. We could be tired, sick, hungry, and lonely. There wasn't anyone there to tell us that it would be okay.
For all the children who survived residential schools across Canada, you matter.
For all the ones who didn't make it home, you matter. And for all the children today dealing with generations of trauma caused by residential schools, you matter.
September 30th is Orange Shirt Day, National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. Wearing orange shows Canada is taking a unified step towards reconciliation. It honors our truth and hopefully continues to build a stronger relationship between Indigenous and non-Indigenous peoples.
Wearing orange means standing alongside us.
So, this is Canada. We celebrate Juneteenth here now.
The crowds stretched for blocks, the reprimands at times silent, at moments raging.
No justice, no peace! Abolish the police!
Juneteenth marks the end of slavery in the United States, but this is about an era of reckoning too, much of it here directed at police. Sol Sanchez says she came to protest police brutality against Black and Indigenous people.
I think it is time for the abolishment of the police system. I think that we need new regulations in place. We need people that are going to be able to rightfully advocate for us and help us in the way that we need, instead of shooting us down like dogs.
The calls to move away from policing to community building. And while the protests aren't new ones, there is empowerment in speaking their truth. Marvin Murphy says the time to act was then and is now.
I think for Canada to take it, the problem more seriously, to not be too afraid to walk on eggshells in terms of addressing and calling out racism, systemic racism, police brutality.
Racism, both blatant and subtle, has turned an unforgiving spotlight on the complicity of silence.
I live in Toronto, and so I believe that people in Toronto deserve to be safe, and it's my role as a white person, too, to be standing up and using my privilege and using my voice.
Do you love us?
A march in unity was held in Vancouver, too. This is the city's first large-scale event commemorating Juneteenth. Freedom from modern-day bondage, people here say, is everyone's responsibility.
In our eyes and based on our experience, slavery has not ended. Physically may have, but mentally and systemically it has not ended.
In Toronto, this moment lasted hours.
Yep, slavery hasn't ended in Canada. Just because I'm just gonna dunk on CBC, because I actually get more views on some of my videos than CBC does. Like this 2 million sub channel, like some of the stuff I post will get more views than CBC videos. That's how bad. Like this. Like I. Just some of the I don't know, just the views that CBC gets on YouTube is like nothing. Pretty much. And this is 2 million subs, by the way. So if you ever think you have a bad view to sub ratio, you're better than CBC. It's just fucking spam. But yeah. Was I don't know, what's some other like gay Canadian stuff? I don't know. I wouldn't watch me for news about Canada because I don't cover anything in Canada. It's too depressing. Oh, Linux, which episode of MST3K was it from? Because I've seen almost every episode, so I'll probably remember if you tell me which one it's from. Invasion of the Neptune Men? Okay, I don't exactly remember. The name is familiar. I don't remember the details of that one. What was I looking at? Okay, there's this guy Purge Viral who I don't have anything against him, but he's like he's one of the biggest grifters I've ever seen. Basically, his shtick is he takes people who were banned from YouTube and just re-uploads it with almost no commentary. So like he kind of functions as Fuentes' unofficial YouTube channel, where he will just take like whole segments from Fuentes' show and re-upload them with like almost no commentary and get the views for that. Which I mean, I guess like it's good that it's available on YouTube, but it's also just kind of there. What was I looking at again? I think people can see the kind of content that I normally watch, which I'm not really ashamed of any of it. Let's see here. Where was I? Okay. Trying to think what else has been going on. I should really start like putting up clips from these as a way of just farming the content, the quality content, as it were. I'm trying to remember what else was interesting that was going along. Who's Welsh Wizard? Let me see. Rain's currently like lying on my arm, and I know she's gonna bite me if I move my hand over. No, I have not watched Welsh Wizard. Oh, okay. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with Luther Morgan, but Luther Morgan, I feel like he's not the bizarro version of me, but like an alternative version of me that could have happened. So I just want to show you part of it, just because we'll get back to it as a whatever it is. But just, I don't know. This guy just reminds me a lot of myself. Where is the investigation? Where is it? Okay, here we go.
Our journey really begins in Utah. So here we have Coffee Brand Coffee LLC. Now, Coffee Brand Coffee.
So this was his investigation into Coffee Brand Coffee, but I don't know, just the way he does things reminds me so much of how I would do it.
LLC. If you look at here, the formation date, which is April 14, 2022, and then if you scroll down here, look who the manager is. It's Jeremy Hambley. Now, of course, we redacted his address because that is a residential address. It's not a commercial address. But he is listed as the manager. Here you have Crook Legal Group, so this is the registered agent. So if you wanted to like sue Coffee Brand Coffee, or you wanted to serve them with legal documents, this is who you would go to. This is public information, by the way. And then, of course, we look at the bottom here. This is the physical address. So this is where the business is actually supposed to be taking place. And so this is a public address. This is a business address. So we're not doxing anybody. This isn't an individual. This is a company. It's corporate food manufacturing. So what I did was I reached out to the Deputy Commissioner of the Utah Department of Agriculture and Food, and I emailed them. And I said, hey, I'm requesting assistance to try and locate documentation for a food business called Coffee Brand Coffee. And, of course, the Deputy Commissioner here, Amber Brown, was gracious enough to respond to my request for public plant license holders. So if Coffee Brand Coffee is a real business, and if it's a real coffee factory in Wisconsin, it's going to be on this list. So let's get the PDF, shall we? So
this just feels like something I would do, like going to the government website, getting all of the, I don't know, it's brilliant. If you haven't seen, if you haven't subbed to Luther Morgan, I recommend it. He does a really good job. He might not have a channel for long. I bought his book. I'm gonna listen to the audiobook, and I'll do a review of it when I'm finished. People have asked me to so my good friend Serp asked me to cover Styx. I just don't want to cover Styx because Styx is so cringe. Well, not even cringe, he's just disgusting. Like, I don't even, it's not even that I find him, like, cringe. I just find him gross. Like, I can't even look at him. He's just such a filthy human being in all regards. I don't know. What do you think, Rain? So I have my arm currently on she's currently in my lap, lying on my arm. My arm is on the armrest, and she is just dangling her head and arms off the side of my chair, just completely out of it. Is the word Schwerpunk banned? I don't know. I don't know what's banned. I don't even know if I have any words banned. I might have when I like first. I haven't added in banned words in a really long time. When I started the channel up, maybe the N-bomb is blocked in chat, but I think that's about it. The only real words I've blocked are just stuff that might get my channel banned. Let me see. Is there something else you guys want me to talk about or cover? What do you think, Rain? By the way, if you guys have never done it, I'd highly recommend getting some chicken hearts or liver for your cat. They'll probably like it. I know she does. I don't know. I mean, like, what is it you want, girl? Do you want food or something? Or you just want attention? Or just want a warm place to sleep? Is that what this is? So, I forget. Do you guys know what the dissident rights survey is? Yeah. So we'll go through that. I'll try to come up in the next couple of weeks. Get it together. I'll give it a go. My cat does not like eating anything other than kibble. I'm trying to get her on a diet. Oh, if she's eating too much, then that's probably not a good thing. But Rain's kind of underweighted, so. Also, chicken hearts are healthy, but cats go crazy over them. Girl, I can't move my arm. Did anyone want any life advice or awkward personal questions or something? Coffee brand coffee. Blueberry cobbler. Who here wants blueberry cobbler flavored coffee? That sounds gross. I don't know. The only real thing I ever put in my coffee is just milk. I like a lot of just normal cold milk in my coffee. And then like iced coffee with milk in it is also good. I don't know. I just never got like this, like the pumpkin spice stuff and all the other shit they throw in. I don't know. I just like normal coffee that's been diluted a bit with milk, just to give it like a nice smooth taste. I'm gonna say I like McDonald's coffee quite a bit. I think McDonald's coffee is actually really nice. As far as like the fast food brand ones. McDonald's just has a very like neutral, inoffensive, consistently decent coffee. Tim Hortons coffee is garbage. Um, did you cook the meat first? Keep in mind that you shouldn't be feeding cats raw meat. Um, Cats are as susceptible to parasites as we are. So, yeah. Starbucks really heavily burns their stuff. Yeah, Starbucks burns it. Tim Hortons is just tastes like battery acid. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not a big Starbucks guy. I've never really been a big Starbucks guy. I don't know. I at home I generally just drink Nabob these days, which I think is okay. I've heard its quality's gone way down, but I don't know. I don't think it's that bad. Kicking Horse is actually pretty good. Um, no, well I don't know. Nicholas DeBerry. You have to understand that Tim Hortons got purchased by a like American company a bunch of years back, and they completely changed everything. Like they changed the coffee, and they moved to central baking. So their baked goods have been shit since then. Like they aren't made locally anymore. They like microwave them or whatever. So yeah. Thoughts on the upcoming SSPX Episcopal Ordinations, the looming excommunication. I don't have a strong position on the SSPX. It's um, as I said, I'm not a trad. I'm not like a trad calf, so I don't have like a strong view of them. As I said, I'm kind of in the place where I politically largely agree with them, but I don't really have a my spirituality doesn't really go in that direction, and I'm just not particularly focused on the liturgy. I do appreciate the SSPX for their ability to troll, like the sheer amount of salt that the SSPX causes just by existing is kind of beautiful. I'm going to be honest with that. I don't know. I don't think they should be excommunicated. The type of shit that other people are allowed to get away with um, is way worse. I don't know. I just think it's bullshit. I used to live near a trad church, and I would just go to their Novus Ordo. It was nice. The best though is if you can ever go to the Anglican Ordinariate. Most people agree that they have the best mass. Um, it's kind of like a mixture of the Latin mass and it's kind of like a bit like an English version of the Novus Ordo. An English version of the TLM with some Anglican flair thrown in. I guess is how I would describe it. Though the SSPX is in this weird sort of schism, it's no one really understands it. So No, I said Anglican use. The Anglican Ordinariate Mass. Which is... yeah, it's kind of a mixture of some Anglican, high church Anglican traditions. No, Nicholas, I'm talking about the Ordinariate. I'm not talking about, like, Anglican. So... anyways, I think that's probably good for tonight. It was nice to talk to everybody. I hope that you all have a good weekend. I will talk to you guys later. Good night, everybody, and